Okay guys, introduction to algebra. This is probably my favorite topic that we do in maths because it's something that you're going to see a lot in the future. Okay, it's something that you're going to see a lot and it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. So let's have a look. We're going to go through a few different things. So the first thing when we do algebra, it's really important that you don't get freaked out by the fact that we have letters. Okay, so here we have letters, we've got an X and we've got a T, okay? Firstly, let's talk about the letters, okay? The letters we call pronumerals or variables, okay? In science, you would have heard the word variable, and what a variable is, it's something that you can change, okay? So when you're doing an experiment, you might have control variables that you keep the same, okay? And then you may have experimental variables, and they're the ones that you change. When we're doing algebra and we have variables, they're values that we can change. We can substitute them with numbers and we can turn them into whatever we want, okay, basically. So that's why it's handy with maths, because let's just say if I'm organising a pizza party and I want everyone in the whole of grade 7 to have half a pizza each, okay? What I'd need to do is obviously I need to work it out. So if I had 50 people in year 7, I'd need to order 25 pizzas, okay? So what I'm actually doing is I'm using the number of people and then I'm dividing the number of people by 2, okay? So in that instance, I was doing 50 divided by 2 to give me my answer of 25 pizzas, okay? What you can do with that is I could write a formula and instead of using the 50, I could change that to, let's say, S, okay? And the reason why I change it to S is because of the fact that S is going to stand for students. That's how many students are in year 7, okay? So the number of students that I have divided by 2 will equal the number of P. What do you think P means? P means pizzas, okay? So that's how many pizzas I have to buy. So every year when I came back and I did another pizza party, I could look at my formula and I could substitute S with the number of students that I have and do that number divided by 2 to give me the number of pizzas that I get. So that's why we use algebra to make things a little bit simple for us. So we have variables. We've talked about variables. We can also call them pronumerals, okay? Either is fine. We do not use multiplication and division symbols when we're doing algebra, okay? You would have noticed by what I did here, I didn't use a divided by symbol. I used the vinculum that we see in fractions, and that's how we use division in algebra, okay? We don't use the division symbol, okay? That's why I've been banging on all year about a vinculum, and it means divide, okay? Next, we need to talk about the multiplication because we're going to tick off, we've ticked off division, now we're going to tick off multiplication, and we're going to tick off coefficients. So basically, when you have a variable, and we've got X here, and it has a number next to it, what that means is times. So it's saying 3 times X, okay? If I had a longer term, and I'm going to write down something here, let's say I've got 3x, y, z. What that means, it means 3 times x times y times z. So whenever you have terms that are right next to each other, okay, it means times, okay? It means times, all right? When we have a variable that has no coefficient, what that means is that its coefficient is 1, okay? Its coefficient is 1. And remember, it's multiplication. So that's 1 times x, 1 times t, okay? So that ticks off coefficients and multiplication symbols and division symbols, okay? Just remember the coefficient is the number that's next to the letter, okay? Next, we need to talk about terms. And I've used the word term already, okay? This here is a term, okay? This here is a term. This here is a term. This here is a term. And this here is a term. You can probably notice a pattern. Our terms happen in between our addition and subtraction symbols. So if I was to say to you, how many terms are in this expression, you would say there are 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. Okay, there's 4 terms. Now, when we have a number by itself, it's called a constant term. Okay, and the reason why it's called a constant term is because it can't change. We can say that x equals 10, we can say that x equals 2, we can say that x equals 25,000, okay? We can change it to whatever we want, depending on the situation. However, a constant term cannot be changed, okay? 6 will always be 6, okay? So that's terms. So we've got constant terms, that's our constant term, and then we have normal terms that involve our variables. And then we've got expressions, okay? We've got expressions. Now an expression, okay, is a collection of terms, okay? An expression is a collection of terms. So if we have a look at this here, we have a collection of terms, so that means that there is an expression. If I have something that, let's say, looks like this, let's say I've got 3p. 3p right now is a term by itself, okay? It's not an expression until I do something like this, okay? I've just taken away 10, which is a constant term, and all of a sudden it has become an expression because it's now a collection of terms. Later on in the year, we'll start doing equations, and equations is when we start to put in an equal sign and then we have a balance on each side, okay? But we don't need to worry about equations yet because we're just looking at expressions, and expressions are good fun, okay? The last thing that you're going to have to do in this lesson is you're going to have to interpret some worded statements and turn them into expressions, okay? So here I've written down a worded statement, and it says 3 times x divided by 4, okay? 3 times x divided by 4. And what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to write that out as an expression, okay? No equal sign, write that out as an expression. So 3 times x, sorry. If I was going to write 3 times x, in the olden days when you guys were in year 6 and you were younger, you would probably write 3 times x. Okay. However, now we have these wonderful things called coefficients, and we can be so lazy that we don't even need to write that multiplication symbol. So I can just write 3x. Okay, and then we're dividing it by 4. All right. So once again, in the old days, we would have written divided by 4, but we don't do that anymore. Those division symbols are gone. Okay, so that division symbol's gone, and we would put it over 4. So that is what that looks like written as, and to be honest with you, that's just a term. That's a term, that's not even an expression, okay? If I was to then say 3 times x divided by 4, then 2 is added, then we would have an expression, and I would write 3x over 4, and then 2 is added plus 2, and all of a sudden it becomes an expression. Okay guys, that's the introduction. No multiplication and division symbols. Terms are these things, okay? These are terms, this is a term. You just need to remember that numbers by themselves, they're called constant terms. Coefficients, they're the numbers that go next to your variables, and expressions are a collection of terms that are grouped together by addition and subtraction symbols, okay? Good luck.